try this and hope for the best.
It's the holiday season.
Good morning.
Christmas rocks.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas, you wonderful Billy and Lone.
Tony Caravan.
You've been subjected to a highly sophisticated form of propaganda.
It's just what you need, and not what you don't.
Okay. Oh, no.
Oh! It wasn't supposed to repeat. You can see the hand here. Camera 1, camera 2. It's pretty crazy. I guess I shouldn't have the hand on there. Let's see what we could do here. Let's take a little bit over. See, we got to watch that light. I'm just messing around. I had this USB camera for a while, and I wanted to use it. You see, I want to kind of I wanted to be able to, I don't want to burn out the thing. Give you a chance to see that there's zero playbacks. You also get it. Well, I could actually move this around a little. So you can see this is my coffee warmer. Okay, I paid $9 for this. I think I ordered it from Walmart or Amazon, one or the other, right? And of course, that's the YouTube Studio, but I'm using this open source thing, this OBS thing. It really doubles the size of the face there, video on video. And then this is my audio clips on the old G5. And like I say, if at a certain angle you can see, the whole shebang. But if I put it here, this will just give us an occasional camera too. And you'll occasionally see my hand grabbing for the coffee and the microphone. The coffee just tastes like kind of semi. Anyway, I want to get the glare off of this camera, so I'm going to just turn it a little bit over towards here. And you could kind of see the ceiling there a little bit. What is going on? What am I doing? I'm not exactly sure why I forgot to deselect all these things. They normally don't repeat.
It's the holiday season.
All right, I'm going to take Video Capture Device 2 down for a sec. You came here probably because you saw this title card. And that would have reminded this would go back to that. And so if you're expecting some kind of Star Trek thing here, the idea, the themography, I guess you would call it, there's 5 days till fools. I'll squash you like insects. And that was the original captain and the first officer of the Starship Enterprise. I want to talk about some weird stuff today. I have a lot of stuff to talk about. Today's going to be a free form show as usual. It's going to be a lot of...
You're listening to Tony Caravan Live.
And I've got my little Santa costume on. I guess I could even show you with this. Well, I'd have to flip it around, but let me just... we'll keep this... I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm just a little confused. No, let's just do this. The reason I have two cameras, I might as well do this. So this is me here. And you can see I have my Santa costume on. And if you look at it at a certain level, you can see that I have the list, naughty. And apparently some girl named Christina has been made the naughty list. I don't know who she is. The on-air light from a different vantage point. Me from below looks like I got a goiter in my neck. Oh, man. I'm like a comedian. Let's make sure we can see the communicator. See, I'm giving you behind the scenes thing. I mean, this technically, I guess I should show you that this is the ROCKFLUX mug, but you can see that when I do it this way too. Now, technically, I have the ability to put up camera 3. But I'll tell you, when I was doing that, my CPU shot way, way up. Because the camera's still technically on, it's just that I'm not using it. So we'll just have to see if everything heats up. The fan's blowing really nice, so. All right, let's get on with the Bugs Bunny show.
Hey, it's me. How you doing, man?
I'm doing pretty good. I was thinking about a bunch of different things. I was kind of disappointed that I listened to Ravel's Bolero this morning at like 3 a.m. or a little bit earlier than that, like 2:30. And then I wanted to hear some Krieg lyric pieces, but the voice assistant Echo Dot couldn't, just didn't get it. So I ended up getting up. I slept close to 8 hours. I felt good when I got up this morning. Actually felt better than I feel right now, which is weird. But it's probably, so I don't know. Maybe it's the freaking cereal stuff I eat or something. And I'm hoping this coffee doesn't cause me to take a coffee break, if you know what I mean.
You're listening to Tony Caravan Live.
Well, like I said, I just wanted to go free form with this. And the reason I chose this particular photo from Star Trek, and like I say, just for you Trekkies out there, it's because there's two different things. One, last night, I have this thing going on, and I don't know. Like I said, this is free form. Okay, so just bear with me. I'm going to be all over the place. My mother my 88-and-a-half-year-old mother, who's been ill, was able to, I'm laying in bed, like just zoning out on some YouTube stuff, about an hour before I'm going to go to sleep. And I have an old iPad, which I bought used, it's like, so it's old. It doesn't have the latest operating system on it. It won't take it, put it that way. But it still has FaceTime, and I could check email with it. And that's the same kind of way I use my iPhone. I have an old iPhone that's like, it can't be updated or any of that stuff. I have no cell phone service with it. But I have a Wi-Fi app for this Magic Jack that's $39 a year phone service, which I could also use as my house line, right? It's basically voice over IP. And likewise, it has obviously iTunes on it, so I could put it in my pocket and take some with headphones and walk down the street and listen to music. But I can also check an email or do some kind of thing when I'm out and about. Like I was hoping that time when I tried to when I took Uber to get a tooth pulled, and so after the tooth pulled and I've got the gauze in the mouth and all that kind of stuff, after the surgery, I'm in the waiting room and I use the Uber app and I get a result. There's no Uber drivers available in your area. After I pre-tip the guy too, so I have nothing but bad things to say about Uber. All right. You You can't get, or at least where I am, you can't get them half the time. And if I got one, and when I needed the most, I told the guy, I said, look, I'm going in for oral surgery here. I gave him a tip. Like I gave him a tip in advance, like kind of a bribe. I said, look, I'll probably be done this whole thing within the hour. Look out for me. Because I know how these guys are. They get that thing. And he hid. And so there was apparently no other Uber driver. So he took that money, probably went drinking or something. Ah, man. What an idiot. So anyway, screw Uber. Like I say, people live in cities in certain areas where they can use it. And they always show this in movies and TV shows. People just getting an Uber, right? Or like you've got Lyft, right? There's a guy down the street I even see. He has got an Uber sticker on the front of his dashboard. But every time I've tried to get an Uber ride, there's like nothing available. So you know what I mean? And that's what I kind of wanted to talk about today. I don't want to. I'm not going to get. It's kind of. I don't want to be real negative. This show's
Quality, quantity, and variety.
ROCKFLUX.
Let's get this show on the road.
So I'll try to keep it a little bit upbeat. Maybe.
Really funny. Really funny.
So. But I want to point out a couple of weird things, just contemporary things. Okay. So one is this idea that we live in a country where people watch YouTube or they watch, the national news, right? I mean, either get their news source comes from some kind of cable, satellite, network news, the old mainstream media, which really still is mainstream media. Even though their ratings are lower, they've moved over to YouTube, and then people, taking their clips and putting them on various other social media platforms are boosting their ratings, okay, back up to, so they're getting that extra ratings push. And that's why I've been telling you that what YouTube is becoming a cable company. Like Comcast. That's what YouTube is becoming. And if you think about it, right, because you have YouTube Live, not this live, but like YouTube has like YouTube TV now, with TV stations. You have YouTube, you could rent a movie, right, just like you can on Comcast, right? And then you have all the major networks that have stations and all their key clips and their key shows on YouTube, right? And of course, YouTube is commercial unless you pay for the premium plan, which isn't cheap, but they do have a family plan. But I mean, it's the same as, it's like, I guess it's a little cheaper than cable was, but that's the only way to deal with YouTube, really. Would be to have YouTube Premium, but you're still gonna have to pay to rent a movie. And what if you're watching a live YouTube TV? That's a premium cost too. I mean, let's just look at that just for the sake of this. So let's go to the videotape. Like I say, I don't know. Hopefully this doesn't really overly tax my my thing today, because I got a lot of stuff going on right now. Okay, so let's see. YouTube TV price. 85. Okay, YouTube TV price. CPU's not going too great. The best premium live TV streaming service, according to CNET. All right. And you can see this. Limited time offer. It's $54.99 a month for your first 3 months, but it's $64, so it's $65 a month. That's new users only, cancel anytime. And then down here, let's see all channels. Okay. So what, just see all channels. Well, anyway, you see all channels. It wants to put in like some old zip code. All right. I don't have that anymore. But as you can see anyway, so let's just look at this. So what I'm saying is that, okay, so if you want YouTube TV, it's $65 a month. All right? All right, $65 a month. Now, I have no idea, but it would seem to me that there probably would be taxes and stuff. And, look how they make a big stink of, like, they got CNN and MSNBC on there and Fox. Right? It's the same old crap. $65 a month, 85 plus channels. And I guess you can get some of your local channels. That's why they want your zip code or something. All right. And then if you have, I'm trying to get out of this thing. And then if you have premium, that means if you watch YouTube and you want to watch YouTube itself without commercials, I don't know what that is, $12, $13 a month, or it's in the teens per month. So suddenly, you could be looking at, $80, and I don't know if there's taxes. I mean, I think they charge taxes, but even if they don't, but whether they do or don't, you could be looking at the same as any cable company. So this is what I'm trying to tell you. YouTube, and they're changing their terms of service. They got this big stink they've been making the past month, right? And I think that the plan is, and they've already done it to me, like I said, I'm going to keep up this morning show thing because I'm going to be a little bit all over the place here until I could get this point across. So shows like mine are completely buried. And let's make no mistake about it. This is a show. This is a TV show, I mean, for crying out loud. And yeah, I will do this. I mean, camera 1, camera 2, I even have camera 3. And you could see, it's like I set up it's a production studio here. As much as anybody else's, right? Multiple, the complete setup, I actually have a 3-camera system, oddly enough, So let's go back to the title card, though, just to keep this thing going. So anyway, I'm down here, it's like I was explaining yesterday on iTunes, my best song, which I can't like self-hawk and promote enough, Virtual Cage by Tony Caravan. Check it out. It's a really good tune. Should be on the top. It should be in the charts right now. I can only play 6 seconds at a time so I don't get a hit, right? So I think if I take a pause and talk, it's like... It's a long intro, so I'll try to skip ahead.
Price smartphone, and it shattered.
Anyway, so very good song by yours truly. If you go to iTunes and you go to Tony Caravan and you start looking, you'll see some real old stuff I did on one, like first CD I had, which was, like I said, was an experiment. It was just like an experiment. I wasn't sure I was going to do the beat poetry thing, but I did it, and I went through the whole process as a learning experience. And I put on this song,
So, here we go. Let's give it a whirl.
The worst, the worst Christmas, Hanukkah, Kwanzaa song ever written or sung, which is number 1 if you go to Tony Caravan on iTunes now, right? It even has like a couple of likes, I guess, or something, because it's like, they put that little bar on there. It's the only one of my songs that has like the first 2 bars or something. But that's an old song because that was on that original CD. And there was another song, Everything You Know Is Wrong, EWIK, EYKIW is called, but it means it's like up on the screen there, Everything You Know Is Wrong. The other songs were just kind of a beat, poetry, experiment, and basically poetry in motion, right? Said this before. But anyway, that dominates the top. Because it was they have it in the order in which the stuff, I guess, was put on eventually or something. And people tend to play what they see. It's like why they do trending and things on like Netflix and Amazon and Prime and all that stuff. In other words, you see what's first, what is visible to you is what you see. It's like the first page on Google search or YouTube search or whatever. If you're not on the first couple pages or the first page mainly, that's why they have AdWords and it's pay to play. And so what I'm saying is that some of my best music, which has come out, the essential beat poetry of Tony Caravan, that CD, which is here, here's a shrink wrap version of it. But I mean, just to give you a close up on it, we could use our other camera for that. Believe me, there's a method to this madness. Stick with me. But anyway, this gives you, there's the track list there, which is fairly in focus, I think. Kind of. Yeah, let's see. The Lies We Ignore, Identity Crisis, What People Don't See, Game Over, which should be a hit. Autopilot could be a hit. Driving Down the Road, that's a classic. Bigger Than That. That shows up 31 on Virtual Cage isn't actually on here because Virtual Cage is one of my latest songs. I wrote this after this compilation. Robots, Breakaway Civilization, Bureaucrats, Everything You Know Is Wrong, Mini Digiculture, Happy Nightmares live version, on Advertising and Design, The Weather, and then The Worst Christmas Hanukkah live is on here too. All right. CD. So, but like I said, there was a couple of songs that I had written, and I don't think it's on here. Let's see, My Last Girlfriend. I wrote a couple of songs, ouch. That hurt me as much as it hurt you, because it echoed in my ear headphones. So, I'm going to put that back there with all that garbage. We'll go back up to this. So what I'm saying is that, one of my better songs and latest songs is down number 30 on the list. Who the heck is going to sample? Because you know how it is when you know what I'm talking about. If you go to iTunes or Spotify or anything, you're going to hit the little circle play button and listen to that sample of it to see if it's a song is worth listening to before you put it on your playlist or whatever. You're not going to go down 30 tracks. If you listen to the first 3 or 4 songs by some artist and go, this stuff doesn't sound too good, right? And especially if you don't see any big bars, across, people look, they want to listen to what everybody else thinks is cool. All right, so what I'm using that example because it's the same with YouTube videos. If you don't appear, on the first page when people are searching or looking or logging on and all that stuff, or at least come up in recommended lists, or on the live lists, podcast, whatever you want to call this morning vlog of mine. So you're invisible. So who's taken over? The mainstream media has taken over. YouTube is becoming basically a Comcast. Right? Which is sad. Anyway, so I highly recommend if you can go to Spotify, you should try to play, listen around a little bit and go play songs like Virtual Cage, and there's some other songs. My Last Girlfriend is kind of funky. Everything You Know Is Wrong isn't a bad tune. Of course, right now your holiday playlist, you should have the worst Christmas, Hanukkah, Kwanzaa song ever written or sung. My Last Girlfriend sounds like this. Happy Nightmares Live.
I originally wrote this song.
That's a newer song too. But anyway, that's just my own. Okay, enough of this shameless self-promotion, nonsense. Back to reality here. All right, so YouTube is a cable channel, and I think starting next year, over the course of next year, YouTube, there's not going to be any difference between YouTube and Comcast. And a few of the YouTube millionaires, or I guess the YouTube stars, right? Because, YouTube actually produces its own series. They haven't had a lot of luck with that. When they first started doing it, there was a couple of interesting things. There was like one or two sci-fi series that I actually enjoyed, and the production of them was pretty good. But I haven't seen, I guess, lately, a lot of the stuff, it's like everything in general, they're so concerned with like trying to conform to pressures from certain social groups or something, imaginary pressures, because they really are. The threats are real that these social groups make. Right, because the media is all involved in that. It's whatever they're trying to transition this society into some sick thing, and it's like It's like I said, the Great Reset already happened. It's so far like in progress that these people that are like Save America type of people are just wasting their time. So what I'm talking about, and I'm not being depressed, and hear me out, and there's a couple different angles. I want to get into some other weird shit. So the people in charge kind of are like this Star Trek, this particular Star Trek episode, right, that I have on the screen. I'm just holding this up just for the sake of impact. Where they became like gods, these two. And that's why their eyes are glowing. And they had this power. Let there be light. You know what I mean? They could control anything. They had been, So it's a form of like megalomania, but sci-fi megalomania, right? Humans as, all-powerful, omnipotent beings. It's a good Star Trek to watch, to watch that one. If you get a chance to see it. In fact, I got to seek that out. Because I'm pretty sure they have the Star Treks on, it's either Amazon or Netflix or both, the original series. But anyway, so this is where we are right now. We have a bunch of megalomaniacs in charge, and they believe they're like godlike beings, and they're controlling and manipulating. I mean, but they're just not cool, and they really don't know what the hell they're doing. So it's like the metaverse, which I said, is inevitable, that all this stuff's going to happen, and I even have, like I say, I don't like just talking about stuff without investigating it. I mean, here you go. Right. Which I think actually Apple bought this company that made this thing originally. But this is like a VR headset, right? And what I'm getting at is that I don't criticize a thing unless I've basically taken it for a test drive. Actually, definitely more than kick the tires and test drive it. I mean, until I really give it, the run through. And while the technology that we have right now is pretty far out. I showed you on a previous show the gaming capability, the photorealistic, the visual realism that they have now. And they meaning, the people who are implementing these technologies for various games and whatnot. And filmmakers have access to this stuff. And it's the same with AI. GPT-3, which is already advanced, I'm sure, to GPT-3 point, 0.4 or something, or 0.5. It's working its way to GPT-4. At least GPT-0.1, GPT-3.1. I guarantee that. And, so when you take the, and we aren't combining these technologies yet. And that is the goal of Meta and what the metaverse is supposed to be. And and Mark Zuckerberg wants to be the leader in that. Microsoft is competing with that. And then Apple has rumored, or there's been quotes, but I don't know if they're actual quotes by Tim Cook or whatever, that he's claiming he's going to leapfrog to both of them in another year or two. And, of course, all of us in the technology world, we're impatient. So a year is too long to wait. But a lot of this technology isn't really going to be fully in place until for the next, some's going to come into place this coming year, 2022. Pardon me. Some will come into place in 2020, won't come into place till 2023, end of 2023. So a lot of this stuff is really, we're still 2 to 3 years away, and we still have this problem of the patent wars and all of this copyright and all this other crazy stuff that people are doing. Right? So I wonder if I put this, put another camera on here. Just for the sake of it. I'll see what that does to my CPU, to keep an eye on that. If it jumps over 10% usage, I'll have to watch it. But it's like you can see my hand, which is dry. Man, it's dry. I have to work upstairs today. That's why I hope I start. It's 4:44 a.m. on the 20th of December. 5 days till Christmas, and then the 12 days of Christmas, and then we're on to something new. Next thing. But, the question is, how far will people go? Will the technologies be combined? Right? Remember that final something? The first video game that came out that was very realistic. It was like almost 20 years ago. Final something or other. It had the girl with the hair. I mean, you could tell these geeks spent a lot of time on her. She was like the geek dream girl. But the whole thing was, the whole movie was, CGI basically. Or, engine, some kind of, gaming engined out. And that was a long time ago. And that kind of like, then everything started to become more cartoonish, right? And while the video games got pretty good, and and there are some that are more like photorealistic videos, video realistic or whatever you want to call them. It's like they, considering that thing came out almost 20 years ago, it probably was like 20 years ago. It was like, okay, this is going to change the movie business. And that thing I showed you yesterday, that girl, that face making all those weird contorted faces and stuff, and the way the shadows and lights and like the fences, that video, right? It was either yesterday or the day before. I don't know. I forget. If it was the day before, I deleted that video. I hope it wasn't that. You can see my hand grabbing this drink. It's pretty funny. So the question is why? So Hollywood doesn't want to allow filmmakers. It's like when they started. I could never figure this out. When they started making these animated movies, and they would get like Eddie Murphy to be the donkey, right, in whatever Shrek or something. In Toy Story, and they'd have that one about bugs, and they had Woody Allen in there. And I was like thinking, what is going on? Like, why are you using these people? If you're going to make a thing, right? So the agents, like this pressure from Hollywood, right? The star system, the studio system. I mean, I have no idea. The Actors Guild. I mean, SAG. Whatever. I mean, it's like, I hate to say this, but the point of the matter is, we have the capability of creating a real movie now. It's almost indistinguishable from reality, filmed reality, filmed actors on set, type of thing. Many of the sci-fi movies are so much CGI. But I mean, there really is no reason to bring in these names, and they have these actors. And it's like, I'm like, for this, because what, people aren't going to watch it? The star system? I mean, when is somebody going to come up with the idea of, like they did in that final, what was it called? Like final game, some game. Let's see if I could find this out real quick. New window. Game Final Fantasy. Yeah, I think that was it. Let's see if I could find this. Final Fantasy first movie. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, check this out. Let me just do this here for a second. Get rid of that. Okay, so like this girl here, right? Now, images maybe, okay, 20th, yeah, see, I was right. Celebrates 20th anniversary with 4K Blu-ray edition or something like that. So I was right. It's like 20 years ago. All right. I don't want to subscribe. So follow me with all of this stuff. And as I was talking about yesterday, banner ads in there. Let's just look at the trailer a little bit. Final Fantasy, The Spirits Within. Well, that wasn't much of it. Oh, here we go. They're kind of blowing it by. They need to exploit like the girl more. But you could see, in that like last scene there. Let me just jump around and see if they get any close-ups. There was that one scene here. Okay, right there. Get rid of that. I mean, this guy here, he doesn't look too real. This guy looked pretty darn real. She looks good. They're showing a little bit of skin. You get the bare shoulder out there. But what I'm trying to say is that this was 20 years ago, okay? And they created this girl, all right? Like, this geek dream girl. I'm sure guys had this poster, in Silicon Valley, right? Up. Right? And you're saying, well, I don't understand. What's the big deal? What are you trying to talk about? What's going on? I don't get it. Well, what I'm saying is that if 20 years ago, and if you watch that original Final Fantasy, and obviously it's 20th anniversary edition, you'll see the detail. In fact, they gave the hairdo. If you look at the hair on Sally Kellerman in this picture here that I have on my title card for the morning show. All right, and it's the guy from 2001. Gary something. I forget. I mean, those were big stars on Star Trek, if you think about it, for that, on that early episode. But that was the kind of hair, of course, but the hair was even better on Final Fantasy. And what I'm saying is that, so somebody put the kibosh on that, right, in Hollywood. Like the Screen Actors Guild must have been freaking out, right? Because that girl didn't exist. She was created. She was created by, geeks, computer graphics geeks, and that was right around the time when I was I was heavy into computer graphics. It's kind of weird seeing two different angles. It looks like I'm slobbering there. I'm not. That's just like the coffee spills off there. ROCKFLUX coffee mug. It's just a behind the scenes thing. I'm just doing something different. Just other people don't do this stuff. I'm just trying to, like I say, break the, that proscenium arch, this idea, shatter the, the wall, and disbelief, where you're supposed to suspend disbelief. I'm trying to give you the truth at 30 frames per second. So what I'm saying is that, okay, 20 years ago, Final Fantasy was basically meant, the way we were all, and I say we because I was involved in graphic design big time, all right, among all my other things, and entertainment. So, I mean, it was right up my alley. But the way we were all moving so quickly, and then suddenly what happened was this stupid thing, which I'll put in the camera, came along. The stupid smartphone. All right. And then everybody got sidetracked, right? And obsessed, and apps became the new thing, right? For better or worse, I guess. And so we somehow put aside, and then they started making all CGI was cartoons with real, and then with like movie star names on the screen, as if and a lot of these things were like kid stuff. So families were taking, I mean, I never watched Shrek. I've seen pieces of it because there was a time when I had, when I was making a ton of money and stuff, and I had to Comcast full package or something. I think I had everything for a while, every freaking movie channel there was. So I'd flip around and you'd see a little bit, and so I'm exposed to pop culture. That's my thing. So I know everything that's going on. It's just whether or not I'm interested in it or gonna watch the entire thing is a different story. But I'll watch enough or mess around with something enough to know what's going on because I want to talk firsthand, which I always stress on this show. Always have stressed. So the kids don't know who these people are. They wouldn't know Woody Allen is some ant or whatever he was, some kind of bug in some kind of scene in some, cartoony graphic, animation, CGI animation thing, right? Could be somebody else. So that's for like the parent or something. But I mean, as much as I like, there's some certain Woody Allen movies that are classics as far as I'm concerned. I mean, I liked Woody Allen acting, like Play It Again, Sam, which he actually was just acted in. It's not he didn't direct that movie. But to me, that's one of the funniest movies ever made. And of course, his classic, Annie Hall and then Manhattan. And there was a couple other ones thrown in there. That one murder like mystery thing or something where that guy that he directed, that guy, dentist or something, I mean, there was Woody Allen had made some classic movies, and not just comedies, he's had some serious, decent movies. No doubt about it. However, what I'm trying to say is though, but he was never a lot of his movies, apart from like Annie Hall and some of that stuff, like he wasn't the blockbuster draw, the way, that you would consider a movie star, a name that would draw. And it sounds like I'm just going on and on and on, but the idea is, what I'm saying is that when you look at that girl, which we had up a little while ago from Final Fantasy, it's quite possible we could create movie stars, because people like that, because we're attracted. That's the other attraction. And I want to get into this because there's a problem here that it wasn't solved by them putting in name actors in place of designed people. Right now, we have the capability. Okay, 20 years ago, you could take Final Fantasy, and if they really wanted to, they could have redone that movie with today's technology, and you would have, for all you known, it was a real actors in that movie, is what I'm trying to get at. That's the state-of-the-art technology we have right now. And I demonstrated it on this program, I think yesterday, or I did it, it's there. I've seen it with my own eyes, and there's filmmakers that have taken advantage of it already, but nothing on a major level, because I think there's too much pressure from SAG and Hollywood and studios to allow this to happen. It's the same because of the megalomania. That's why I chose this particular Star Trek scene, because they're looking in a mirror. I don't know if you can't really grasp that unless you're familiar with this episode. And he's telling her, look at, and we're like, we're like gods. And the thing I have underneath the title of this is "Fools, I'll squash you like insects," is what he says at one point, right? Which freaks out Kirk. And that's why Kirk has to, they have to destroy them, or I forget. I want to rewatch this one again. I forgot about it. I mean, I didn't forget, but I mean, out of sight, out of mind type of thing. So what I'm saying is that, I keep saying it, is that you have, you know, we can create stars, you know, people, and we could create new, like, news readers. All right. So I began trying to tell you that YouTube is turning into Comcast. All right. That your voice assistant, like Echo.Amazon, Siri, Cortana, and all these other things, right? There and Replica, if you haven't messed with that, that's the actual GPT-3 you could chat bot. It's a chat bot that really you could talk to with text. You could voice talk to it. But they refuse to put that GPT-3 into Siri, Cortana, or, you know, the Echo Dot one. I can't say its name because it's in the other room, and it'll like be like asking, "Did you say something?" And so instead, they're like kind of semi-dumb. They're just like, you know, they're assistants. They'll play music for you. They'll search, find some answer, simplistic answer, turn on a light, and you know, and pull something. Here's what I found on the internet, right? That kind of crap. You can't just sit there and have a lay back in bed, you know, and have a conversation with it the way you can with Replica with a K. All right. The only problem with that is you have to type or you have to push the button to talk, which is stupid. See, it's like, you see what I mean? Each of these technologies, they're holding back and they're intentionally not allowing it to go forward. All right. If you're grabbing, can you grasp that? In other words, 20 years ago, right now, if 20 years ago Final Fantasy was able to be produced, by now there should be movies that are being produced through algorithms and with the assistance of, you know, AI algorithms and whatnot. There should be the most outrageous, because these things are capable. GPT-3 is capable of actually creating things. Like it like writes poetry and creates websites and can write articles. All right. Based upon, you know, its research, and because it can have access to the internet as a database. So if you're following with me and you stuck with me this long, this is all going to start coming together, making sense. That if you wanted to, and there has to be the will for it, and there isn't. And this is the sad part. And is that you could, there's no need for anybody to work for Fox, MSNBC, ABC, CNN, or any of those stations, PBS, whatever the heck your stupid thing is. Okay? There's no reason. And they're paying these people. Some of them get as much as $20 million. Some of them get $6 million a year. Some of them, they're all getting millions. It's either single or double-digit $1 million contracts these people have. It's like sports athletes, right? And you know, the same is true with professional sports. Okay? And when you think of it, you know, like people who play Madden and some of those things or whatever, but you've seen some of these things, these games, but they hold back a little bit. But even what they have out there, a lot of the play action is realistic. But they're holding back on technology, the technology that exists right now. See, there's no reason to pay somebody, Oakland Raiders, you know, Philadelphia Eagles, you know what I mean? Pittsburgh, you know, Steelers, you know, whoever. Whatever the team, whatever your team is. There's no reason to pay these players a lot of money because they could create the players and they could create the actors in the movies. And they could definitely create the people, the television interviewers and newsreaders and, you know, hosts and morning show people. And they have personality. Like I wrote in my book here, Codex, I have some conversations with one of a GPT-3, okay, in there. And so what I'm trying to get at is that they're holding that back because the pressure from the people, the agents, and I guess the studios and the unions and all those type of people are holding back this technology. And that's uncool. Because the idea is we've never had this people, and it's the same as the influence that they're putting on like the First Amendment and free speech and all that stuff. See, never before in history has technology advancement been held back in such a way. All right. It's the same as it's the same with like the big pharma and medicine. It's like, do you really think, so when you talk about, you hear constantly, you can, and again, YouTube is a good source for this, but there's also papers written. I saw a paper, that was written in a journal, a medical journal, just the other day, and I think I might have mentioned, maybe I didn't mention it, I did mention it, where there was a study done on, they were trying to find the thing to kill certain bacteria, and these were published results in a peer-reviewed paper. And what happened was, so they had these various things, but the particular thing, that whatever they had in the petri dish or whatever that they were using to test were cancerous cells. Okay, they were trying to see if they could like target certain bacterias or whatever and specific cells. And it just so happens that these cells that were used in the experiment, it wasn't intentional because it wasn't a cancer study. It was a bacterial study. All right. I read these medical journal papers just like I read the scientific papers. The ones that are peer reviewed, not like somebody publishes something randomly, right? And what happened was this thing they were testing to kill some bacteria, they found out it was killing these cancer cells, and it was killing like a lot of them, like the majority of cancers. All right. And it was a sidebar, and it was played down, and so the experiment was almost, so they stopped that experiment kind of because because the cells that they were killing off were cancer cells, and the purpose of the experiment and the funding that they had originally gotten was to target bacteria, not cancer. It just so happens that these were cancerous cells that ended up being used in the experiment. It was a weird situation how that happened. It's just what they grabbed out of the refrigerator, freezer, whatever it was. I mean, you'd have to read the whole thing. You could find this kind of stuff if you do some serious research. You got to be into this, I mean, that's where my head's at. I'm like I need things to really stimulate the mind, so I get into that. So the cancer industry is this $100 billion, $1 trillion industry, okay? Sloan Kettering and all this stuff. And I just donated money to, St. Jude's Hospital for Kids, yesterday or the day before yesterday. It was either yesterday or the day before yesterday. I'm a cancer survivor, knock on wood, so far. I got another blood test in January. So, I'll support cancer research, and I know all about it, okay? I've been involved in it firsthand, unfortunately. But the idea is that, do you honestly believe that Big Pharma wants to have a cure for cancer? And you're saying, oh, of course they do. They're doctors. They took an oath. Hey, there's some people who are working for the government right now, particular doctors who I'm not going to mention, who took an oath they shall do no harm, and they're out there hawking certain things that are doing harm. Okay? All right? Do you honestly think somebody, are you that naive, let me put it this way, that big pharma, just like big tech and just like the entertainment industry, big media, all right, are going to say goodbye to hundreds of billions of dollars, if not $1 trillion industry, right? That their shareholders, remember, a corporation exists for one purpose and one purpose only, is to benefit its shareholders. You see? They want to have quarter over quarter increases in their stock value and year over year increases. People want to make money. They invest in it. Venture capitalists, VCs. They invest in companies because they want to see a return on that investment. Now, people do not want to have their industry eliminated or scaled down in such a way that there's no profit in it anymore. You follow what I'm trying to say? So in other words, if you could just take a pill, a potion, or an injection for, 75-80% of the cancers that are out there, well, the cancer industry becomes this basically is gone. It's eliminated, because at that point it would just be dealt with, by a physician, family physician. They'd look at a PSA test or some kind of thing like that. A chair fell down. Hold on a second. And your doctor would say, yeah, it looks like you got such and such. I'm going to prescribe, this. There'll be no need for, you see what I mean? That this whole industry becomes meaningless. It's the same with this thing that's going on right now, right? That seems to be being propagated, because it's hundreds of billions of dollars, and the money's coming directly from the government. So do you really think you're getting the truth and they want it to end? Like I told you, the guy from the Mayo Clinic compared it to tetanus, taking a tetanus shot. And like I said yesterday, that's the Mayo Clinic, man. I used to respect them. Right? And that's not apples and oranges, man. I was telling somebody on the phone yesterday, I said, that's like apples and a rock difference, tetanus and this thing that people don't want you talking about. I mean, tetanus, you step on a rusty nail, you get a tetanus shot, and you're fine and dandy. You get one when you're a kid, and you get one when you're 50 years old. I went through the thing and did that. But in somewhere in between, if you stepped on a rusty nail or cut yourself with some piece of metal or something weird, funky, and you went to the doctor or the emergency room, first thing they're going to ask you is, when was the last time you had a tetanus shot? And you say, I haven't had one since I was a kid. And they'll say, well, I'm going to give you a tetanus shot. Let's just play it safe. They clean the wound, put a Band-Aid on it, gauze or whatever the heck it is, depending on the size of the wound, and send you on your merry way, and you're fine. So if this were like so if that guy from the Mayo Clinic was right, it's like, if this is like tetanus, then that means it's over, right? But that's not how he was trying to say. He was trying to, as if you need to just keep. This would be like it was just. I couldn't believe it. It was Mayo. You could find it. Just look on YouTube. Maybe the Mayo Clinic might have forced them to take it down, but I mean, it said Mayo Clinic was the thing. I mean, let's see. I don't know if we could find it. Let's see. New window. YouTube. And Clinic. Let's see. Here it is. Hold on a second now. I show you, I'm not lying, man. This is screwy. All right. This guy here, Mayo Clinic expert, explains why getting COVID-19 vaccine is more than ever. And I did this because I was like, okay, I'm interested. I want to know, right? The truth. And what he ends up saying in this, okay, is, let's see if they put it into writing here, because I don't know if you can hear this or not. Well, anyway, this is the video. Look for this video. It's called Mayo Clinic Expert, whatever, blah, blah, blah. This guy is actually comparing it to a tetanus shot. But he's trying to use it in a way, in like, not like what I'm saying. I was like, if it's a tetanus shot, well, then it's no big deal. What are you talking about? So he's obviously got paid. I mean, Big Pharma must have paid that guy a lot of money. And, you know, people are going to like see something like that and think a certain way. And not see the logic, like they don't follow it through. So what I'm trying to get at is that it doesn't matter if it's entertainment. Final Fantasy 20 years ago, and the Screen Actors Guild and big media and entertainment industry, or whether it's big pharma or it's big tech, big data, or military contractors creating wars, right? You know, weapons of mass destruction so they could sell weapons. They don't care about the soldiers that lose their limbs and die, right? That all of this stuff is never before in history at this high a level has there been such a pushback of advancement for the sake of pure profit. This isn't capitalism, all right? This is like these people, this is like, hey, we're like gods, the World Economic Forum. Look at us. They're looking in the mirror, and he's saying to her, look at us, we're gods, right? And people try to attack them. Fools, I'll squash you like insects. Right? And, I used to do a lot on the old days when I started this show long time ago. Probably some 400 episode ago, I used to do this a lot. Remember that? Remember I used to play that? And that's what I told you. They see us as cattle. Right? And so we're pushed back technologically, and you're going like, well, yeah, but I don't know. You should see my latest thing. And I'm going like, yeah, I got to, what are you talking about? There's a VR headset. I wrote a book last year, my new book. Well, you can't see it right now because I got the video on it, but, my new book. My latest book, CDs. But I mean, that book, that talks about the hard problem of consciousness, deals with conversations of AI are in there. Here's a VR headset, right? Here's my tech, right? In front of everything. I know all about this, man. I told you I was on the internet 35 years ago. I've been on the internet for 35 years. 35 years. All right? There's people, like I say, I don't talk to a lot of people, but I talk to some people. There's people whose parents were born, it's like with a lot of this social justice stuff that goes on and like this forced divisiveness. Like I say, I live in an integrated neighborhood and everyone here is like cool with each other, all right? So I don't know, these people make up this stuff. But there's people, these kids who are out protesting and these news readers, Their parents weren't even born. Martin Luther King was already dead before their parents weren't even alive when Martin Luther King was around. You understand that? See, a lot of people don't understand that. Like at the height of the civil rights movement, somebody has a 50-year-old parent. 1970 was like 52 years ago. 1972, right? 1971, 1972 was like over 50 years ago. And people's like their parents are like 50 years old, right? So some, 20-something is out there protesting, talking this, and their kids and whatever. If somebody had a kid when they were in their 20s, they could be almost 30. So I'm saying it's not only the young people today. For some people, a 50-year-old, somebody who's 50 in their early 50s could be their grandparent, was not around when the civil rights movement was going on. And so they don't know what's going on. They have no idea. They don't understand. And they don't live here where I live. Like I say, my rent, mortgage, not my mortgage, taxes, and insurance. Mortgage, I own this house. I'm paying on it. My mortgage, taxes, and insurance are less than $200 a month. Okay? I live in a poor neighborhood. By choice, because I want to be free. That's why I have freedom is fun on the screen. And by its nature, poor neighborhood, that's one thing that's true, tend to be very diverse neighborhoods. Right? Right? There's some Haitians bought a house across the street from me. All right? I've got, black guys living on the corner, black guys living, 2 doors up. Asians, right? Mixed couples, different religions. Nobody gives a crap. You see what I mean? It's not even, it wouldn't even be on, it wasn't on anybody's mind like even a couple of years ago. Now they put it in your face so much, but still people around here obviously don't pay attention to it. I go to the grocery store sometimes. I'm the lightest. I'm the only white guy in there. And it's nice because I don't even think about it, but I have to mention this stuff because of how warped people are. So never before in history, what we've done is we've allowed a handful, literally a small group of people who have no direct experience in anything, right, to have hijacked the culture, is what I'm saying. So I only bring up that, divisiveness thing, because that's their big deal. And I'm going like, yeah, where? I don't see it anywhere. You search far. They have people. They've got they have to search far and wide. And the moment they find some thing out of 330 million people in the country, they find it if there was something act was committed, then they pounce on it and it's nonstop in your face as if this is, and then they got all the school kids all brainwashed that like this is everyday thing and that there's like inherent racism or something. And they're talking about 400 years ago. They don't even know what this place looked like 400 years ago. Their grandparents and parents or grandparents weren't even around when Martin Luther King was making speeches and marching and stuff. Who, by the way, was a guy who was anti-war, and J. Edgar Hoover, your beloved FBI guy, was bugging him and was extorting him, was trying to get him to commit suicide when they arrested him at one point, trying to blackmail him, right? But who, through all of that, was a man of peace and who said that we needed to we'll live together in peace. He was a pacifist and didn't believe in that. And even Malcolm X, at the end of his, before he was killed, Malcolm X had come around to the point and saying we got to, people have to learn, like we have to coexist. See, but you're, the people who their parents weren't even alive when those people were making these statements. And so I don't know what they're putting in textbooks today, but if they really put in the speeches, they're probably just talking, I have a dream that someday, blah, blah, blah. Well, that dream came true. And by the late 70s, it was peace and love and classic R&B, People don't know. I lived through that. The post-civil rights and the post-feminist movement was post-Vietnam War was a really cool time in America. It was like the late 70s. After the tumultuous 60s, right? I think Apple I've talked about it once, they have a documentary, 1971, where they're trying to show a lot of this stuff was culminating right around that time. Because those were the years, the late 60s into the early 70s, until the Vietnam War was over, right? From Johnson, you had the Kennedy assassination, and you had Johnson, who was a real, MFer, and a lying, Gulf of Tonkin liar, Vietnam War, whatever. And, and then Nixon, but the war ended at least under Nixon, even though he was he was not exactly, your poster boy for the perfect president. But you had J. Edgar Hoover, who, they still have the building named after him, who was a bum, man. That guy was rotten, dirty. He was dirty. But all that stuff came to an end in the early 70s, and by the mid to late 70s, it was really peace and love. See, that's the part nobody understands. Nobody understands that. And then the 80s came around, and it was just MTV. Right? People were just like doing things. So you had punk, ska, you had disco, punk, ska, hair metal into alternative music. I mean, the 80s, and MTV during the whole transition went through MTV. It's not like today. You got one main, everything's like boom, 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 boom. Whether it's country, rock, or dance or rap, right? It's all everything's the same 16 producers are putting out. It's the record companies. It's all fixed. It's all bullshit, right? And it's all divisive, divisive music. My heater, $9 heater. But anyway, so that's reality. That's firsthand experience. I'm trying to tell you, but never before. So so they've ruined kids. And what I'm telling you now, I'm not trying to convince you of anything, because the damage is done. You see, you've got the current generation and even their parents, apparently, because they weren't born, they didn't live through that. Or if they were alive, they were like 2 or 3. So they were totally oblivious to it, right? 50 years ago, right? Some mother who's 53, 55, right, was 3 years old in 1972, 71, 72. 55 years old. That's like a person, that could be a person's grandmother today, right? People are grandparents in their mid-50s, but definitely a parent. So if you've got some 30-something person on TV, their parent, more than likely wasn't even around, never heard of, only knows what they've read in a book. And they've revised history with the kids, and they revised history for those parents, and they had this propaganda. And that's what I'm trying to say. All of this comes together now. So now you have YouTube becoming this cable, the new cable channel, right? The new cable TV, as if it's authentic, right? Because they have their own cable stars, YouTube millionaires, but it's really being over-dominated by these mainstream people. And so you have these bloggers and people like that. And what are they doing? All they're doing is talking about stuff that's on CNN, MSNBC, or Fox. Right? Even the guys who are trying, friends of mine, even, I see them, and it's like they're like making fun, or everything's a retweet or some kind of like montage or thing of something that's that's like from this mainstream traditional legacy media type of thing, instead of doing something new, right? New. And that's how I'm saying how this all ties in together. So they've resurrected the civil rights movement and some kind of the Jesse Jackson's Rainbow Coalition, right? See, I lived in New York City, back in the day. I worked for Columbia University. I also worked at a publishing company for a little while. I had my own business up there I've been in New York, lived and worked in New York a couple of times. And I lived and worked in LA area, a couple of times. I lived and worked in Philadelphia, DC. I know, I traveled, man. I've done shit. Like these people that just, they sit around, watch TV all day long and then make a video about it or talk about it or go out and go to some rally as their only travel. They vacation. Where have you been? Oh, I went on a couple of spring breaks. When I was a kid, we went to Disney World, and we went down to the shore. We went vacationed on the lake. It's like, that's nothing, man. That's not traveling. Traveling is doing what I did and what everybody used to do back in the day, so to speak, is like getting in your car or a bus or a train or whatever, a plane or whatever it is, and going somewhere and making it on your own. Working. Living in a place. That's how you know a place. You live and work there. People are untraveled. They don't know. They don't know what's going on. They've no real world experience. That's why there's like over 1 million some jobs available right now. And they're all high-paying jobs. I'm retired. I'm done with that shit. I get job offers all the time. I get some job offers that are so high that I've been tempted to take them. High six figures. I've already had job offers 1.2 million, right? But I'm like, no, man, because I don't want to do that, because that's a trap. What am I going to do? I'm too old. I've had problems, some health problems. Not that would stop me, but I say I did it for a year or so. So now I got this, so I made this million. What does $1 million get you? Do you get trusted putting it in the bank? What kind of tax situation? Where am I going to be if I live, another 20 years or something like that? Do you understand? I got out because I see this house of cards falling down. This is the former United States. Western civilization is fallen. Right? And maniacs have taken over. And this World Economic Forum, this Great Reset's already, it's totally happened, for crying out loud. It's already happened. The kids are all indoctrinated, brainwashed. The metaverse, they want everybody to stay away. Look, it is. You ask your doctor, okay? It is essential that a child and an adult have human interaction and literally hug each other, have hugs. It sounds crazy. For some people probably like, ooh, that guy's goofy, right? No. The human body actually has receptors. You need to be hugged and kissed, and you need to make love too. But I guess you could do without that, but that helps a lot too. But certainly a child needs to be nurtured by its parents. And as you grow up, you need human contact. You need human contact. People who have human contact live longer, are healthier. It's even healing. Talk to your doctor about that. I mean, unless they've been like totally, bought out. So you're going to create some kind of metaverse, right? And yeah, Zuckerberg is right, because in reality, if eventually they resolve all these issues out over the coming years and they allow the Final Fantasy 20-year-old technology, to be upgraded to the current technology, which I showed you yesterday, right? How realistic it is. And we don't need actors. We don't need anchor people. We don't need any of that stuff. All right. And that would give and we could move on to the, real creativity. See, when I was in film school, the idea was there was from the French, it was like the author-auteur idea. And the argument used to be, between people, it's kind of like the hard problem of consciousness. Some people believe that the biological brain creates consciousness, and then there's most others now, it seems to be leaning that way, that consciousness is somehow an external thing, somehow outside of out of the brain. The mind is not, the brain is more like a receiver of sorts, even though it's hard for you to grasp. People don't want to deal with that. But that's what my book here talks about that. I don't know why people don't, educate yourself, man. So I get worked up on this stuff and I lose my train of thought. But anyway, what I'm trying to say is that never before in history has advancement been held back for the sake of individual, megalomania. It's completely out of control. They didn't hold back technology the way that they're holding it back right now. Oh, I was talking about the auteur. Who's the author-auteur? So it was the idea of the writer versus the director, or the writer/director type of idea of a film, or a TV show, entertainment, right? It could be a play for that matter, really. But any kind of performance, piece, some drama, or some sort of, shadows on the wall, for those who understand what I'm talking about. And the idea is that that's where it comes from. That's the beginning. That is it. It starts every movie, TV show, or play you have ever seen, even a musical, started with somebody either holding a writing instrument, right? A typewriter, a word processor, a keyboard, or maybe even a voice recorder, digital recorder, or a voice assistant, whatever it is. But it started with an individual, a creative individual who came up with the creative idea of the song, the music, the story, the whole idea. And then whether it was that same person or not, then that was interpreted by a director, right? And a team of a writer, producer, director, whatever is put together, and the thing exists, right? And then is put into motion. And so, at this point, we brought in players to make it happen. Now, actors hate when somebody talks like that. And I've acted in things. I actually acted in a film that was nominated for a Australian Academy Award. I mean, I was just in a scene, but I mean, I'm telling. I mean, I know I've acted in plays and been involved in productions enough and produced things, so I could speak firsthand about that kind of stuff too. But you know, you have to. Creativity is very important to create human creative mind. And that's being stifled right now. And so I apologize, you know, to the actors, you know, like as if I'm disrespecting you maybe and saying, but, you know, things change. And I think there's still a place for people to act and to do things. But there's also a place for people to be able to be creative and use this technology where we could create a star like that girl I showed on, you know, a while ago that doesn't exist in the real world. And we don't need to pay $6 million for some anchor person on CNN. And, you know, that way the commercials wouldn't cost so much, or maybe you wouldn't have to have so many damn commercials. Right? So the quality of life, see, it's about quality of life. And, you know, and likewise with so-called professional sports. So the price of a ticket could go, you know, way down. You could have some games, but I mean, people would be put in their place. You could have virtual teams. Right? You know. I don't know. It's just that the technology, right now, I think people are caught up and I think the average person doesn't grasp like the state of the art, which is a weird thing. But I mean, it's the best way of saying it. I don't think people understand. That's one of the reasons why I put the second camera on today. Trying to see if that's getting hot. It's not. Is what I'm trying to show. It's like, in other words, it's behind the I'm showing the view from behind, my view from behind the scenes. To explain, you know, to just give a visual idea, you know, to take away the proscenium arch, you know, and that's that type of thing. Strip away and deal with reality, and that and accept the fact that money, you know, and make no mistake about it. I'm all for, and when I was younger, all for profit and living well and the quality of life, you know, pure, you know, reasonable, decent capitalism. Okay? Just hear noises outside. I'm in front windows when I look over there. That's my front window. And the idea is that that's not what we have right now. What we have right now, we have big tech, big data, big pharma, you know, military contractors, central bankers, the World Economic Forum, big ag, right? We have like this group of bigs, right? And that, you know, pulled together form this like corporatocracy, right? And it's a syndicate, and I call it, and it operates like an organized crime syndicate, the Davos set. And they have total control over everything. Right? But, you know, there's people like me where it's like, that's why I live in this neighborhood, like I say, where diversity was never an issue and is still not an issue. And freedom is fun because it's a poorer neighborhood. So we stay away from that. We don't need that. That's why I don't want to get back into the position of like being see, you could be a wage slave and make $600,000 or $1.2 million a year. Because then you're caught up in that trap that whole life. And then where do you go? There's no certainty. There's no guarantee. See, where I am here, I'm guaranteed that unless an asteroid comes down or this, you know, or we get nailed by this solar thing, which is quite possible, all right, you know, in our lifetime. But unless something like that happens, I'm growing vegetables in my backyard, right? And apart from the fact that I got to spend the better part of the day doing some roof, getting prepared for Friday's rain, right? Patching my attic where I got some leaks. But apart from that, I'm more or less free because I can indefinitely survive here this way. Indefinitely. Whereas if I were to take a job and go move to LA or New York to make this big money, it might be fun to do it for a year or two, but it's like, then what? Like my shirt, or like the title of my book. Then what? And then I have no security, And so I would fumble and bumble, and who knows if these neighborhood, and opportunities like this would still even exist. So I don't know. It's like I say, you got to take the bitter with the sweet, but the idea is that life here is a struggle, but it's better than, at this stage in my life particularly, it's better than it would be if I were living, high off the hog, so to speak. It's like I look at somebody like Obama. He buys like a $16 or $20 million house at the water's edge, but then makes speeches and says climate change is going to raise the ocean levels and we're going to lose all the coastlines. But he just bought a house on the coast that's at like sea level. So, and people don't see the hypocrisy and the lies of that, right? I mean, I don't get it. How could you not? It's weird, right? It's bizarre almost. Hypocrisy. The practice of claiming to have moral standards or beliefs to which one's own behavior does not conform. Pretense. That's what's going on right now. This is the media. This is the politicians. All of the politicians. All political parties. This is Big Pharma. Right? This is that guy. His name begins with an F. This is a frickin' Mayo Clinic guy who was trying to say tetanus. Compare this thing that's been around for a couple of years to tetanus. I mean, come on, man. As another hypocrite says, come on, man. The thing. It's hypocrisy. Everything's hypocrisy, man. And the thing is, the Great Reset has already occurred because you can't turn back. In other words, the metaverse is already in progress. The problem with the metaverse is it's cartoony and game-like. In other words, they're not giving us the full technology. And so my thing is, and I guess what I'm trying to say to wrap this into a ball so it's like it all comes together for you, is that if you're going to create a metaverse, all right, why not make it a real metaverse? Why not photorealism when we have the technology? If you're going to have these voice assistants, right, these things, why don't they have GPT-3? so you could converse with them. See, everything is half-assed. Everything is like it's a holding back pieces of technology. In some cases, it's because they play these patent wars and copyright, infringement things. In other ways, they're just trying to hold people back, hold technology back, and piecemeal charge everybody for something. I mean, you saw the YouTube prices for YouTube TV, and so if you had the combo of YouTube Premium and YouTube TV, what's the difference of just having Comcast? Right? Because I think with Comcast you get free digital stuff, and you get a package with Comcast. You'll get TV and internet and phone, like they've like a triple package type of deal. And I think you can get a discount on a cell phone, like you only pay like $39, like some ridiculous. Somebody was telling me about that, because so you get like a discounted cell service and stuff, or even package or something, or they have these, AT&T tied in with DirecTV, owns DirecTV, so you can get DirecTV, get cable, and then you get AT&T cell phone and and high-speed internet through, whatever. And so what's the difference? What's YouTube? You see, YouTube's just becoming another player in that arena, another cable company, cable or satellite company, whatever you call it. The point is, another internet company that brings you TV. But it's like 20-year-old technology. Do you see what I'm saying? They're going backwards. And it's the same as with this divisiveness, why I brought that up. In other words, they're going back 50 years and resurrecting. It's like feminist and the, civil rights movements that were ended 50 years ago. I'm sorry, they ended. I'm sure there's some freaks out there, but there's also a lot of there's all kinds of freaks. There's 90,000 homicides in the country every year, right? That aren't race related, that are just basically crazies. So there's way more. See what I mean? How they don't really tell people the truth. And those out of those 90,000 a year homicides, almost 1 million every decade, right? Okay, think about that. Do you know that most of those go unsolved? Now, they're not racially motivated. They have nothing to do with that. They're not, have nothing to do with any of that. I mean, but the moment they find one that somehow, has some kind of thing with a person of color or a person of some orientation, then they put that up and it's nonstop in your face every day. And I say, well, what about the other 89,000 people who were killed and their families that wasn't racially motivated, wasn't oriented, sexual orientation, or whatever the hell your woke, whatever this thing is you're creating, that you and your parents and even in some cases your grandparents weren't even alive when this thing was really going on. And when people came to their senses and ended it all 50 fucking some years ago. And now we've got 20-year anniversary of that Final Fantasy thing, and people are still putting out half-assed video games and cartoony movies and using like actors' voices on things. It's like, why? Why not just create, I want that girl. Let's create, let's create a virtual movie star. Let's have why we got these people on TV that have opinions? Why don't we have somebody like that Final Fantasy type of person, or that girl I showed the other day? Why don't we have a GPT-3 perfect, reporters and, anchors and morning show hosts? And they could conduct interviews over, the same way they have these interviews through the, like this, through Skype, Duo, FaceTime, whatever else. Whatever other crazy things they have. Yeah, it's nuts. So, ROCKFLUX mug, grab one. So that's what I'm just trying to point out the hypocrisy of it. And just to put this all together. So then so what else is left on YouTube besides these YouTube stars that are, making all this money from views and building these $1 million homes and homesteads and stuff like that, right? Who all are running their course, by the way, now. Like everything, that's why I think YouTube realized that. They all like some of the big guns, on YouTube. Like the Off the Ranch guy, you know who he is? He's, gets million views. Bought that big abandoned mansion. Well, they're like 3 weeks away from moving in. Okay. That couple with a couple of kids that has, built the A-frame house out in the whatever, they're practically finished the bulk of that. Though they're going to add on an extension to their house next year or something. But I mean, they pretty much are living the lap of luxury and they're living like in a mansion, right? All these people are, and some of them are already off, And so that's all coming to a head in the next year or two. All those people are going to be done. There's nobody taking their place, right? Who's going to take their place? Because none of these people are that young, super young, and the new people are all just woke, so they're just complainers. They just bitch about shit. See, they've never done anything. I could talk about stuff because I've traveled. I've done things. Published 10 books, wrote 50 songs. Right? Did 500 of these videos, traveled the oceans, traveled the country, lived and worked in New York, LA, DC, Philly, been in all the states practically. Only a couple of states I haven't been in. Been through practically every, been in the World Trade Towers when they were there, was in the Chicago Tower, been to the St. Louis Arch, had lunch under it. Stopped and had lunch next to the Louisville Slugger bat. I mean, come on, man. Been down to New Orleans for Mardi Gras. Lived in the Florida Gulf Coast. Been on both coasts of Florida. Slept on Lauderdale Beach. You know what I mean? Done all those things. Been to Vegas, gambled. Met Steve Jobs in the old days up at Apple when they used to have the Apple conferences up in San Francisco. All that stuff. I've done it all, man. I've done it. These people haven't done anything. And so because now they want to create a metaverse and lock everybody up. And like I'm saying, humans need physical contact. And they're trying to say, oh, it's like a great thing. If it'll be like you're almost in the room, conference room, or with a person. People could come over to your house and hang out in this metaverse. No, they can't. They're going to be in their house and you're going to be in your house. It's not the same. It's dehumanization. And they're holding back, and on top of it, they holding back technology. And it's like, so we're living, the part of them are living in the past, right? Whether it's 25 years ago or 50 some years ago, right? Some people with this 400-year, 16 whatever project, like as if, how would you don't even know what was going on. And then what's left on YouTube? I saw something yesterday. This is to show you how weird it is. there's like a series of people that actually have this concept. I've done these anti-flat Earth videos because it annoys me so much that I have to like try to get this thing across to people, right? How absurd, this concept is, and how they're using some map that was just made for an Earth view from an atlas. Well, I heard the one yesterday, and then I realized there's a rabbit hole for this whole thing too, that the moon is like a mirror, and that the entire Earth is, it's reflecting the Earth, and what we think is the Earth exists inside one crater, but there's like thousands of craters on the real Earth, and it's just being reflected in the moon. And there's people, millions and millions of people who believe in this kind of stuff, flat Earth kind of stuff, and all this crazy, ridiculous stuff. Okay? And I didn't even mention that part about my whole, because that was my tech days, was my dealing with technology and expeditions to Antarctica, the North Pole, and the Himalayas. And these people have never been or know anyone who's ever been and have never been involved in anything to understand that there really is a South Pole, that Antarctica is a frickin' continent, and that airplanes do fly over it, jets fly over it, and there are scientific bases all over it. People walk, friends of mine walk to the North Pole. Okay? I know people who have climbed the mountains in the Himalayas. I have been I dealt with dispatches, satellite phones, and live video. This is like 20 some years ago, was doing all that stuff. And these people come out and they tell these stories and they say this stuff, and like Antarctica and the edge of the world is ice, and Antarctica is ice, and where the moon is a reflection. I mean, such far out shit. So this is what so what is the difference? What is the difference between somebody who's a flat earther or somebody who's woke? Nothing. They're the same type of people. Because they're believing some kind of hogwash that's not based in any reality. Because they were never even, they have no firsthand experience. I was at the March on Washington too, because I lived in D.C. at that time, and I have photos of that. All right. And it's like they weren't, because they weren't even born then. They don't understand. And that crowd wasn't all black people. It was white and black and Asian, and, it was everybody. People, the majority of people don't give a shit, all right? It has to do with quality of life. But now they're like brainwashing the young kids and torturing people and locking them up and saying, take this and take that. Oh, and it's like a tetanus thing. Like, what the? I mean, things are so bizarre and off the wall that it is like, it is pure, it is beyond this like thing,
This is insane. 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 This is insane.
So, I mean, this is a classic rant, I got to admit. But, it's cool having the second camera, though. Didn't you think? Wasn't that neat? See, like I got some extra speakers there. See that mini audio thing? Yeah. Here's like, see, it's still dark outside here. And That's the other part of my room. I got some lights over there. This camera isn't the greatest with lights. Let's see if we could do one of these things like the glitch. Cameras into cameras. I always get a kick out of that. Not weird. Anyway. Kind of interesting. It's neat stuff. Properties. Use preset. Anyway. I don't know. I think I made my point across, It's, I mean, and let's remember.
It's the holiday season.
So, there you go. Back to the scene. I guess I got into that. I'm wearing one of my weird Santa stuff. I have all this stuff because I know it's hard for people to understand and believe all these things. That's why you really need to read all my books and I used to DJ, so I have like Santa costumes. I used to hang out and, this time of year I'd be giving free prizes out on my own. I'd pay for them and I'd go into bars and clubs and I'd DJ for free. I'd say, just give us some drinks, me and a friend of mine. Just keep the pitchers of beer coming over. And I'd play like Christmas music and give out prizes. I'd get like roll tickets and have them handed out to people at tables in the bar. And I used to give out Christmas stuff. I used to do that every year. Have fun. I didn't care. It was just having fun. And it's like, people look at you like, oh, I'll give you some money to, I don't want any money. I don't need any money to do it. It's the holiday season, I give, just give me some beer. But anyway, so enjoy life while you can. Is all I could say. Is quality of life is all that matters. And live the best you can. It's going to go downhill from here on in. I mean, there's just no doubt about it. And if you're wasting your time, if you don't see what's happening, if you don't see that all they're doing is like playing musical chairs and weird shit and like rearranging the furniture, right? So, one cable company over here is moving over. Is now going to be YouTube. Is going to be a cable company. It's like they're rearranging the furniture, but it's the same frickin' place. And the technology that we have, which guys like me are aware of, right? And could do all kinds of neat things with, right? I mean, that's the whole idea. I mean, that was the whole purpose of me just even doing this, right? It's like, come on. It's like, it's sick that they're depriving us of all of it. But it's too late. So, you sit there and you watch Fox News or you watch MSNBC or CNN. Well, they're all moving over. They're already on YouTube. And then whatever they say, then all these guys, I don't care if it's Joe Rogan, Tim Pool, or, whoever your Steve Bannon. It doesn't even matter, whatever your Tucker Carlson or, whatever that Lemonhead guy's name, whatever, whoever you're into. It's like, and then everybody's like making a deal. And then it's like Trump, what's he doing? Get out of the way, man. Forget it. You're just like stirring the pot. You're not going to run for president. And if you do, man, do you understand the damage you're going to cause? Right? The damage, the mental damage, the media storm and craziness. These people can't cope with it. You need to step out of the way and just let that stuff vanish, man. You can't save America. Don't you understand? The Great Reset's here. You got to save yourself. That's what I'm trying to tell you. That's the thing. Save yourself and your quality of life. And if you have a family, take care of you and yours. And for the holidays,
It's the holiday season.
and in this holiday season, share and joy, peace, and love to the people that are around you, near and dear to you. And forget about this. You can't, there's no phoenix going to rise from the ashes because America has already fallen. I'm sorry to say that. All right? Western civilization is gone. All right? And YouTube is becoming, has become, it's a cable company. But we're still on it, kind of, and whatever. But look I got 0 live viewers. When this is all said and done, I'll be lucky if there'll be 3 viewers. Because nobody wants to hear this kind of truth. And that's just the way it is. Instead, they want to watch, like Tattoo, they want to watch somebody like Let's Go, whatever his name is, dancing. That people, rehashing what's on Fox or MSNBC or CNN or ABC, CBS, NBC, PBS. What the fuck do we have all these stations for? You only need a couple of them. It's like people think there's 2 sides to every story. There isn't. There's one side to most stories. There's just one side. Right? Something happened. It rained the other day. There's not 2 sides to it. Right? You know what I mean? Fair and balanced. What are you balancing? All right? You're not fair and you're not balanced. 90% of the news, if they would report the news, is just an event that happened. It's not everything is a court case or something where you need a judge and jury, a prosecutor and a defense attorney. You know what I mean? It's the fucking news. Okay, it rained. There was a storm. Somebody got shot. There was a fire. There was a, bridge fell out. Right? The sun, solar flare. Elon Musk has a new thing. There's a new iPhone. There's not 2 sides to these things. It's like there's a new iPhone. There's Elon Musk has built a new factory. There's the sun just had a, solar flare. All right? There was a tornado in Kentucky. All right? There's not 2 sides. That's the news. 90% of the news is just what's going on, right? Hey, what's news? Hey, did you hear it was a bad storm down there? A lot of people got hurt. Hey, did you hear such and such has a new phone out? Hey, did you hear such and such, whatever? The sun, sunspot. Hey, they run a rocket, they're sending a rocket to a space station. Hey, there's this, Hey, they're building a new supermarket down the street. It's news. But they make it, everything's like politics has become pop culture. Like everything's politics and everything's, like I said, it's like a court case or something. Who gives a shit? That has nothing to do with the quality of your life, man. Donald Trump is not going to save you just like Joe Biden didn't save you. Okay? And just like the Davos set and the New World Economic Forum and the Great Reset didn't save you and isn't going to save you. The Great Reset's already in motion, right? It ain't coming. America is the former United States, and Western civilization has collapsed. And what we're dealing with is there's 8 billion people on the planet, so we're still going through the motions. When the Roman Empire fell, no one could say it ended, because they still had Rome and Italy and Italians. They're still Greeks to this day. But we don't have, Greece and Helen, right? Right? Same, if you believe in the, dynastic Egyptians and all that stuff. Well, there's Cairo still down there. Okay? It's the same with the Mayans. They're still Mayans. Do you understand? Empires rise and fall. It happens, but it's not, somehow people are expecting, it's got to be like Escape from New York dystopian world. Well, yeah, it is. In many places, it already is dystopia. That's for sure. But I've been saying that for 25, 30 years. There's been dystopia. Just ask the people who are living. You know, there's 8 billion people on this planet, and billions of them are living like in subhuman conditions. All right? But they don't want to talk about that. All right? It's all about these handful of people that are running, you know, the Davos set and this corporatocracy, right? Big tech, big data, big pharma, big ag, right? Big banking, big finance, Wall Street, you know, central banking, military contractors and their fake wars, endless wars, right? Just to sell weapons, to care about. And none of those people care about your quality of life or human life at all. Anyway, that's it. Yeah. Merry Christmas.
It's the holiday season.
And by the way,
You're listening to Tony Caravan Live.
visit my site, ROCKFLUX.com, if they ever get rid of me. Get my books and all that jazz. I guess I'll talk to you tomorrow. Take care. Cheers.